Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Transgender Show. I am your guest host, Genevieve Bergman. I have the opportunity to come in tonight and share with you an interview with one of my most favorite people in my life. Angela Locashio, aka Mama Pistachio, is a self-proclaimed nerd and avid role player, and has always been passionate about creating a safe space for diverse populations, including LGBTQ plus and neurodivergent folks. Using an intersectional approach, Angela helps clients understand how their lived experience, including sex and sexuality, affect all areas of their lives, from the games they play to personal relationships to running their own businesses. So it is my pleasure, joy. It's just going to be an overwhelming, ecstatic experience for me to share with you all this interview tonight with Angela Locashio. Thank you for being here. Tonight, as we talk about your journey, we're not going to have the typical type questions, so there's going to be a lot more flexibility on these questions. But how do you identify, Angela?
That has actually changed since meeting y'all and coming into the transverse and having some of those interactions. I never fully appreciated myself as a girl, but I always said, I'm a girl, right? That's what happens. And I always had some issues around that, but was just like, you know what, it's just another one of your weird things. Just let it go, and that's not a big deal. But it is a big deal, especially when I found a label. Thank you, Jeannie. When I found a label that really hit the spot for me and helped me feel like I understood myself better, and that was demi-girl. I was like, that's it. That's it, because I'm a girl, but not like that. That's just not fully who I ever felt like I was. So it wasn't until I came along this other one in many of our conversations and was able to really feel like that. Oh, hey, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm not weird. It's not a weird, just a very unique thing to me. There are other people out there who feel what I feel, and boy, is that validating.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was fun to be in that conversation with you and be able to hear that moment of self-awareness. That was a powerful moment. For many of us, we choose new names to mark our life and the transition that we go through. But because your transition and your acceptance is a little bit different, are you open to sharing a little bit about how your name has maybe changed in understanding for yourself?
So I was born Angela Marie Hamilton. But I would get frustrated hearing Angela Marie. And I honestly cannot remember the date. Well, no, I can remember the official date was April 8th, 2017. I officially changed my middle name to Joy. Okay. I was stepping out of the fog of being somebody who I was tearing off all the masks.
Yeah.
Just tearing them off. And I was doing that so that I could live joyfully.
Right.
And I needed that to be a part of my name. And I also like the initials AJ. I really felt like that. It's like, cool, yes, I'm Angela, but then I'm AJ, and that really represents like this piece of who I am too. I felt that, for what it's worth, more masculine piece of having that name and being able to move in between those two as I desired. The more and more I've come into really appreciating who I am as a human being, the more I like to introduce myself to people as Angela, because like sharing that name, that full name, with them and giving them the opportunity to call me Angela,
Mm-hmm.
which is very few people in my life prior to that called me Angela.
Mm-hmm.
Only the people who cared about me the most called me Angela.
Looking back at your youth, what kind of clues did you have, or what sense did you have that you didn't feel all girl?
I don't do friends easily. This is just one of those things. I make friends with very few people. I'm autistic, so that's not necessarily a surprise. That I maybe make friends with them, but I don't hold on to it for a long time.
Yeah.
I got on the bus on the first day of school, 6th grade, and I was wearing a black and white skirt, um, Payless high top tennis shoes, no laces, of course, because that wouldn't be cool. A Harley Davidson T-shirt
Mm-hmm.
and a bandana around my head. I just never really, I never really got the girl thing. I had tried to be a girl. I was trying really hard
You had a
to
skirt
be a
on.
girl. I put that skirt on. I tried really hard. And you know what? It's just those kinds of things where it just didn't, understanding that I'm autistic, it does kind of make sense that I just didn't get it. It didn't make sense. But, that autism can affect our perception of our gender.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if it has affected mine or if that's how it is anyway.
Right.
I just know that I had older brothers and I didn't understand why they could walk around without their shirts and I couldn't. I looked the same.
Right.
I was 3 years old and I couldn't walk around without my shirt on because that's not what young ladies do.
Mm-hmm.
And that really confused me.
Yeah.
It still does today, if I'm being honest. I
Well, at 3
understand the
years
whole
old, I mean,
societal,
come on.
right? Like we're not different. I play with the army toys. I get excited about the helicopters and all of this. I'm the same. I'm the same. I give me a gun and let me go hunting and let me go fishing and I do all of that stuff. But why do I have to wear a shirt?
Yeah.
And then it just got worse. When I went through puberty very early. And so as soon as I developed breast, I was immediately wrapping.
Yeah.
And not in a healthy way. I mean, we're talking 1980s here. So all I knew was that was not something that I wanted. I wanted it to go away. So I did whatever I could to make it go away.
Can you share when you started puberty?
I was fully done by 6th grade. I haven't grown taller
Mm-hmm.
since 5th grade because I was done.
Definitely not what we consider the typical developmental process. Do you feel that in some way your experience of puberty might play into your gender?
I mean, it could, right? There aren't a lot of studies. Okay, everybody, you're going to hear me talk about studies a lot because I want to scientifically understand everything. There aren't a lot of studies in this, but there are some that look at autism and precocious puberty.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, I was molested when I was 7. So that could have put me into puberty as well. I don't know. I know that I didn't like it.
Right.
I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it. And I hid it for as long as I could.
When you talk about the studies and trying to understand things scientifically, I mean, one of the things that just connected with me was when we would talk about that, especially the overlap of autism, ADHD, neurodiversity with gender variance, and I mean sexuality and sexual expression, even as we get into subjects. We're not going to deal with it tonight because we've done with it on Behind Open Doors, but talking about kink in all of its various expressions, that there's some overlap there in some very
Well,
interesting ways.
that's that intersectional approach that I take, and I think what got me into that in the first place, understanding now that I have had a very specific interest in how humans grow, how humans think, how the brain works, how our nervous systems work, and that includes sex. When I was 15, that's what I was going to do. I was going to be a sex therapist because what did I care about the most? How people connected. Sex is definitely a way, and how our brains work the way they do. I wanted to know why mine seemed so different from the people around me. Now, mind you, I grew up in a series of very small towns
Mm-hmm.
with white people, and where everybody did what they were supposed to do, because if you were a little bit different, you were completely outcast.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it. It didn't make sense to me. I tried to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to be, I was even a cheerleader. For 1 year, I was a cheerleader. Doing all of the things. I know it seems weird, rah rah.
I can see it because I've seen you just so.
Yeah, and I can do it, and it was fun. Surprise, surprise, my job was to catch people and support them.
Mm.
So it was a very good and apt job for me. I felt comfortable in it. But I've always been very interested in that because I didn't understand what the hell was happening around me.
Right.
And why everybody thought I was so weird. Because I was looking at them and going, y'all are weird. What is wrong with you? Can you just be nice? Why are you
Right.
saying those hateful, mean things to people? And what's wrong with, what am I'm queer. And so it's like, what's wrong with that?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't a girl like another girl? And, why can't it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. When you first realized that you were not, a girl, and coming to terms to that and accepting that, what did that journey look like for you?
I did the hyper feminine thing. I sold makeup and I did makeup videos every single day. And who I am is not somebody who wears frilly dresses, and I'm not a foofy girl. It just isn't who I am. So part of the process of coming to terms with that is not the internal piece. I'm fine internally with who I am and didn't really question it that much.
Mm-hmm.
But I still tried to fit into what society said I needed to do in order to be a good girl.
Yeah.
So dresses and high heels and fixing my hair every day and makeup and self-care. Self-care. Taking bubble baths. Gross. But you better believe I tried it. So a lot of and that's great. For y'all who like taking bubble baths, that's fine. I don't like being wet. But I tried it. I tried really hard. So I would say that that's what my journey was trying really hard to fit into a box that society said I belonged in, that I clearly didn't. And I don't. And I won't go there anymore. Unless I'm visiting in character, purposefully, intentionally putting on a mask that will help me get through a situation.
Yeah.
Rather than doing it for other people's comfort.
Yeah. Who have you been able to I mean, outside of me and the transverse, who have you been able to talk to about your gender experience?
I haven't really. My exploration of my gender specifically has happened really in the last 2 years. So I was in that full, I just didn't think about it before. Like I said, I knew that it wasn't normal. I knew that people regarded me as weird, but I also know that I have the full privilege of being able to fit in as a female.
Right.
And, I'm a weird female, but people look at me and they see me as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to work hard to fit into that. So it wasn't right at the tip top. Now, my sexuality is something that I spend a lot of time and energy and talk to people about.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, and understanding my sexuality, and that I like everybody, and that I don't understand labels and all of that. Why can't we just be sexual? Why do we have to be all of these things? And please, anybody who's listening, know that I fully understand the power that labels have, and why some people really, really want those and need those. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is it's just not black and white.
Yeah.
It's just not like everybody was saying, it's either this or this and there's no in between. And I'm like, well, sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's this, and sometimes it's over there, and it's all okay.
Right.
So I explored that. I paid attention to that a lot. I never considered how my gender affected that. There were times when I looked back at, when I was a kid, if you look at the things that I did, that I enjoyed, they were a lot more masculine. But again, in my brain, there's not just that masculine, feminine. That does not come into my attention until people bring it to my attention.
Yeah. This is kind of playing into the next part of this, and that's, how have you come out in claiming your identity and claiming your gender variance from, again, going back to the word, cis society, the norm of what society. How have you managed to kind of come out in your own ways?
Working with my business coach and that community, my accountability partner and my strategist, definitely I've had that conversation there, and oh, I need to talk to y'all about this label that really has helped me feel good, and has affected my business and has affected the way I think about business, and helps me help other people understand how their gender and sexuality and race and socioeconomic status and all of that plays into the business that they want to run or how they interact with others at work. So I have had that, and that's a great group of people who have also been very supportive during this time.
Right.
So also I have a Discord group where I talk about that openly. Prior to that, I had a Facebook group where I talked about it openly enough where I was pretty much kind of banned on Facebook, which is why I moved away from that, because I couldn't talk about sex or sexuality or anything other. I don't think about it. I just have really leaned into, this is who I am authentically. If you don't like it, I understand that, and no judgment on you. We don't have to be friends.
Right.
I don't have the capacity for that anyway. So
now we do have an interesting thing to ask that I want to ask you about that I think might play into this. But somebody has asked, do you experience dysphoria or dysmorphia?
This is a question that I've been actually asking myself lately. No.
Mm-hmm.
However, I find myself extremely jealous of androgyny. And I wish that I were more. I wish that I could go every day and have people look at me and go, what is that?
When did that start?
I've always been that way. I know when I was a teenager that, that's what I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
So maybe it's because I feel like that's more attractive.
Right.
And therefore I would be more attractive. At the same time, I look at myself in the mirror And I'm like, you know what? I'm a really beautiful woman
Mm-hmm.
and I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, but if I could change it, would I? Oh, yeah.
You talked about, well, you and I have talked about you dress for Jordan in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I talked about you having to go into social functions, having to dress in a certain way, but you have to create a mask.
Oh, yeah. And we actually touched on that a little bit,
Yeah,
right? A little bit earlier.
right.
So let me clarify. He does not require me
No.
to do anything. And also, let me clarify that when I am dressing like this, he has to wear pants,
Mm-hmm.
not basketball shorts. Long pants,
Right.
right? And shoes. Like if I'm going to be uncomfortable by putting on a dress, then you can be uncomfortable a little bit too
Mm-hmm.
by wearing pants. Mind you, neither of us wear jeans. We are both very particular about the clothes that we wear and how it feels,
Right.
but we do take occasions to be fancy
Yeah.
very rarely, like once a year. Okay, like once a year. He bought me a Zelda dress, which is it's very soft. It's a
Mm-hmm.
tank dress, so it doesn't bother me. None of it bothers me at all. I could wear it every day. That's fine. And that's what I wore recently when I pinned his new um, thing. Yeah,
Frank.
I can't think of the word right now, but when I did that, that was a very serious function, and I wore a Zelda dress, and that was perfectly acceptable because he does like to see me in dresses.
Yeah.
So, in that, I can just be, you know, Angela showing appreciation for that. Other things that maybe we don't have as much choice in, like a military ball. Oh, yeah. I'm full on character mode. I'm going to role play the whole thing. It's going to have a story and it's going to be fun because of that. Even though I'm uncomfortable and don't want to be out in public and have to wear a stupid long fancy dress,
Right.
makeup and hair did. And
But I mean, the reason why I bring that up and ask that, do you feel like that having to create the mask of doing the role, is that not a form of dysphoria?
I don't know, honestly. I don't call it that.
Right.
If I'm working with a client and
Right.
that's what they feel it is, absolutely that's what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't. It's just I am going to intentionally create this thing so that
Mm-hmm.
I can have fun rather than be miserable.
Okay.
And you know, if I could find a ball gown that met my sensory needs, maybe I would be okay with it. If
Right.
I could find makeup that met my sensory needs, maybe I'd be okay with it.
Can sensory needs be a form of dysmorphia?
Want to answer that, but I have no science to
Right.
do that.
I know. And
Um,
I'm not gonna force you to
I,
step into a space.
I think that it would be very interesting to see science on that. And it's definitely something that I would explore with a client if that were an issue that was stopping them from being able to move forward in whatever goals they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
We would look at that as a possible, one of those possible intersections, right?
Yeah.
It very well could, and it would make sense for that to be part of it. Would it be the whole thing? No.
Right. Well, I know for me that I've not been able to find any kind of explanation for this, but my dysmorphia has to do with the development of breasts because the form that I see in here has fully developed breast, and so I understand the dysmorphia of that. But at the same time, wearing a bra, even without the forms, because of the pressure around here, somehow interacts with that dysmorphia and provides a little bit of relief. And so that's why I was playing into that idea of sense and dysmorphia, that sometimes it's not even just the sight, it has to do with, I mean, for me, it has to be that physical thing.
Um, Possibly, but I think, and this is, again, I'm not the scientist.
I know.
I do know a lot about the science. I think that that is more of that emotional piece. Now
Okay.
let's look at the interoceptive sense, which is our emotions and how we feel inside of our body.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have something there reminding us that our emotional self is grounded in the physical, then we can feel better. So a bra is going to do that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm wearing a bra. And that emotional need that is there for that to remind you of who you are in your full authenticity
Right.
is met within that. So I think that's going to be more of those the emotional centers in the brain clicking on the things that you need so that you can seek and be happy and
Yeah.
joyful, rather than being in the, like, maybe when you take the bra off
Mm-hmm.
and it feels um, lonely without
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
That you move into the emotional center of your brain that is that panic grief center, maybe even the rage center of why don't I have this naturally and
Yeah.
why do I have to fight so hard for it? So I'm going to lean more toward that being what's happening than it being a sensory need. But and now you really know what it's like to have a conversation with me.
You had talked about some of the struggles with Facebook and that you actually had to move off of Facebook to feel comfortable to be able to talk about the things that were natural to you. Um, have there been other areas where you feel like maybe your identification, your acceptance of who you are has created issues? Have there been other areas professionally or personally where you feel like that may have created issues for people?
I've been divorced a couple times. So that's one.
Yeah.
Relationships have been difficult. Not choosing to pursue relationships um, outside of heteronormative relationships because of it just being too hard.
Yeah.
It just being too hard. Like I have to choose the relationship over my family, and I don't want to do that, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, every freaking day of my life, that's normal for me. For a lot of us, right? For a
Yeah.
lot of us.
What has been your experience of trying to find community in the midst of all that?
I just really struggled with that. I didn't have that. I really tried to hang on to my family.
Mm-hmm.
I really tried to hang on to my family, and I was very hurt a lot of the time, feeling that um, I wasn't appreciated for who I am. So I tried really hard to be what they wanted me to be, um, so that I could be loved in a way that I needed to be loved and cared for. Eventually, when I realized that it's not that they're bad people. It's just that their experiences that they have and their ability to hear and provide what I need and respect the boundaries around that, it's just really difficult.
Yeah.
So I had to go outside of that, which was very uncomfortable for me. I don't make friends at work. I don't want to make friends at work. That's just me. I tend to find one person and latch onto that person. And so my son was my community for a very long time. And I had a cousin, and he lived way out in the country, and it was great. I would go there, take my son with me on the weekends, and it was great. But
Yeah.
when he died, there was nobody who understood me other than my son.
Gotcha.
I went to school at McGill in Montreal. And it was wonderful. I really felt like I had community up there. The academic piece was just the conversations that I could have was
Yeah.
amazing. And then there was just the people and the culture around me and the acceptance, and it was very interesting. I don't know necessarily if I like really had a community around me
Hmm.
or if it was that I was just studying everything.
Yeah.
I was studying the people and the language and the politics and everything, and really immerse myself in that academic space, which I enjoy. But I recognized being a teacher that that wasn't really my community. The kids were.
Right.
Always felt great with the kids, never judged, just that was great. I tried really hard with Unique when I got into makeup,
Hmm.
and I really immersed myself into that and actually created some good friendships with women and understood women for the first time. But as usual, I took it too far and just tried to be like them, and
Right.
that's not who I am.
Hmm.
Um, and then the military. Yeah, I mean, I clicked with the military moms and created this wonderful mom group um, back in Wichita, and that was great, but still wasn't quite my place. Even though it was mine, right? Like I created it, but it still wasn't quite my place.
Right.
Um, and then SCU, and it's like, oh, here are all these people where we can have academic conversations about stuff that I enjoy, and
Yeah.
they respect me for it and want to engage. Yes. And then, you know, y'all. So here I am. I have community.
Yeah. Do you consider anything about what you experience to be a transition?
I mean, yeah, we experience a lot of different transitions
Hmm.
throughout our lifetime. I have pretended to be somebody who I'm not in so many different areas and worn, I'm talking not just masks,
Hmm.
but full on like bodysuits.
Yeah.
Um, and every time you realize how unhappy you are in that space, and then it's like addictions, right? You jump over to another space and you try to fit in there, and then you jump over to another space and you try to fit in there.
Yeah.
Every one of those is a transition. Um, not like not like the transition that you're experiencing though.
So,
You know who you are. That's why, you know who you are, and you
mhm,
are taking the steps to be authentically that person. Every time I was doing that jump from portal to portal to portal,
right,
I was trying to assimilate into that space,
right.
which means I was trying to be like them so that they would accept me. So that was really just a change of costume, a denial of belief systems, a
Hmm.
denial of core values, more than it was a transition.
Have you experienced any fear in claiming your authenticity? What does that look
Oh,
like?
hell yes. I mean, being a queer woman in married to a man,
Hmm.
you get some slack, right? You get people who are telling you, well, you're not really queer
Yeah.
or you're not queer enough. And that's for me what I've had a lot of is it's not enough. Shit, I had cancer and even my cancer wasn't enough.
Right.
Everything is just like it's not enough, and there's so much people everywhere defining for you what your experience should be.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the fear is what led me to jumping from portal to portal to portal to portal. And I feel like today it's not that there's no fear there.
Right.
Fear is a natural human emotion that we have to have. It's part of our brain. It's not going to go away. So
Yeah.
denying it only makes our lives harder. But I have fear. I have fear all the time. Learning that I'm autistic.
Hmm.
The very first experience that I had of saying that to somebody, they said, you don't hit me as autistic. The very first,
Yeah.
right? Like, so yeah, there's fear. There's fear there. There's fear of what's going to happen when I say I'm queer. There's fear of what's going to happen when I talk about demi-girl. People are like, what is that? That doesn't make sense. I live on a military base. Is it fear that keeps me from having interactions with other people? Maybe. But I know that for the most part, I don't fit in.
Right.
So, like, I stick to my people who are safe, and my people who I like, and my people who I know that I don't have to spend extra energy in order to
Right.
have a conversation with. I don't think that's fear-based, but I do know that there's fear that I have to think about. That fear is there.
Yeah.
I have to prepare the conversation ahead of time so that I have responses ready. I did not do that. I did not do that for this. And this whole space is safe to me. I feel very safe with our people.
Yeah.
All of the people who are here, asking questions and watching and participating and however they're participating, and all of the people in the transverse, I feel very safe. When you said you're not just an ally, you're a bona fide member of the transverse, and here's why. That was when it really, really clicked for me, even though I had that whole understanding of demi-girl and yeah, I could walk clients through this all day long. But when it's yourself and you can't step outside of yourself and look at it from that perspective, I needed you and Charlotte and Emily, the conversations that we've had, I needed those in order to feel like I do have a rightful place. And seeing the other conversations that people are having and having some of the same struggles and having the self-compassion to not judge myself based on my personal experience compared to somebody else's.
Right. What's been your favorite thing that you have learned about yourself in this whole journey?
I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely the most interesting. And it would be that I am melancholy, and it's okay. I don't have to be fun and cheerful and boisterous and the life of the party.
Yeah.
To be lovable and worthy.
Right.
It's okay. I am deep within thought a lot.
Yeah.
And I love to frickin' work. I love it. Work and study. It just makes me so happy. And that's okay.
What would you pass on to someone who maybe is still struggling with their identity, their sexuality, their neurodiversity, and they just haven't come out yet? They haven't walked into that. What would you offer to them?
I think the first thing that I would do is have a conversation surrounding a pleasure box. What are the things? Here's this box. What does your box look like? And they tell me what their box looks like. And then I call them on their bullshit when I see that they're trying to give me an answer that they think I want to hear instead of telling me. And then that conversation just goes from there. And eventually you have this box full of all of the things that they love. And that's where you start. I mean, you have to understand what you like and be willing to admit what you don't. In order to step into your authenticity. And that's where the conversation starts. And I'm good at noticing when somebody's not telling me from an authentic space.
People can find you where in social media?
Instagram is the Mama Pistachio. My Facebook page is the same. I really like to spend my time in the Discord server.
Right.
It's a good, happy place. That's where I really engage in conversation. It's super simple. Discord.mamapistachio.com.
Now, again, in particular, you are looking to help
Neurodivergent, queer entrepreneurs, and other professionals.
Right.
And it's okay if you're not all of them.
Right.
We all have our own unique experiences.
Yeah.
And if somebody's drawn to me, I'm not going to say no.
Right.
Come in, let's chat.
Well, thank you, my dear, so much.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. It has been a delight as always.